Good evening, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Sorry, there was some technical problem. That's why class got disconnected. Okay. So, how are you all? How is your study going on?
Good, man.
Today, we are going to see about the topic that is domestication and germplasm conservation. Okay. We'll begin with domestication. If within time we'll finish, means we'll go for germplasm conservation, or else we'll see that in next class, or whatever part remains, we'll see that in next class. Okay. So, start with the domestication. So, I hope everyone has studied the topic, right? Have you all studied? Yes. Who all have studied? Please say yes or type in chat box. Okay, Vandana. Then anybody else? Okay. Fast, fast, fast. Okay. I hope and I expect that you all have studied. And because I'll be asking you questions, so anyhow, you are going to answer it. So let's begin with the session today. Okay. So what is domestication? Anybody? Yeah, please pick up. What is domestication? Any idea?
Bringing wild species under human management.
Okay, so that's what the book says actually. Bringing the wild says means you there are several species you can find over the mountains, over the hilly areas, over forest, but all those things are directly not useful to us. Okay, means whether we cannot use it directly or else we don't know how to use it. So each and every plant has some of the usefulness, but until unless we can bring it to our control, that how to make use of that particular thing for our benefit, till that time we cannot use it for our sake, isn't it? So the definition as it says that bringing wild species under human management, that wild species was growing on its own. We have not created the wheat, we have not created the rice or any species, but still it is there, and right now we are using it and we are consuming it, and not in the way it was previously present. We have done some modification, nature has done some modification with the evolution of human being. Along with that, simultaneously the crops have evolved and the characters which are favorable for the human civilization, we have chosen the plants and selected in that particular way, which will be beneficial for us, and in whichever way it will be more useful to us, we have done in that way process. So overall to say that domestication process is not only by nature, some part of human intervention is also there, but basically it is made by nature. Why? Because with the changing climate and the changing environment and changing ecology, what are the animals present at the particular time, what are the species variation and diversity present at a particular time, the things will change. Okay. Like you say, when dinosaur was there, there might not be, because it was very huge at that time, some other animals must have not there because it was vegetarian somewhat. After that, the small animal population might have increased, and with the advent of new organism and extinction of the previous one, the ecology and the biodiversity of the organism changes, and according to that also some sort of domestication and evolution process goes on. Okay, and that is a continuous process, it never stops. Right now also some things are domesticating somewhere in the world, either we know it or not. Okay, so that is about the domestication. And second term over here, what is presented, germplasm conservation. So directly what we are doing is we are bringing the wild species under our control, and whatever plants and animals or whatever things are present before us, we need to conserve it in a sustainable way, so that whatever resource we have right now, we can hand it over to our future generations. Okay, and to conserve it for a long run, germplasm conservation is very much essential. So that is the topic we are going to discuss today. So let's begin with it. So first of all, as you all said that domestication, what it is a process of bringing the wild species under human management. So it started along with the man started evolving and man started doing agriculture around 10,000 years ago. Domestication process started, and we have selected for the trait, and nature has selected for the trait which was more beneficial for the civilization. So what this term says, that is the domestication syndrome. You would have known. Any idea what domestication syndrome is? If you would have gone through the chapter, you would have known some idea. Yes, please. Anybody? What is domestication syndrome? No? Okay. So domestication syndrome is, it tells about the characters. Means whether in India, whether in Australia, or whether in Africa, everywhere human being is there. So let's take the example of rice. So how rice would have evolved, or how maize would have evolved, means the thing is that what are the desirable characters. Means we need a lot of we need the seeds to be in a larger amount. We need the seed to be intact in the plant, not days on its own. We need a proper time for harvesting, that synchronization in maturation. We need that. We need larger fruits. We need what, a proper color of the seed, and all those traits whichever we need, the human being all over the world would have selected for the particular kind of thing. Traits which would have been selected despite of the place, that whether it is in India, whether it is in Australia or America, some traits are common which are getting selected by all over the world. All those traits cumulatively called as domestication syndrome. वो कोई भी जगह हो आपका, मतलब कोई भी कंट्री हो, लोगों ने जब भी सिलेक्शन किया होगा तो कुछ सिमिलर टाइप की चीजों को देख के किया होगा, ठीक है? तो वो सारे ट्रेट्स को मिला के क्या बोलेंगे? Domestication syndrome. Is that clear? Okay, let's move to the next thing. So here some of the definitions and some of the terminologies are very important to understand. First of all, them is adaptability. Adaptability and adaptation, two terms are there, and there is a minute variation between them. Can anyone say, here I have written, but can anyone say out of your understanding what is the difference between adaptability and adaptation? Anybody? Yes. Hello. Any idea, students?
Ma'am, adaptation is a process and adaptability is ability of a particular organism.
Yeah, adaptation is a process. Yes, yes, correct. But anything else?
Ma'am, voice breaking.
Okay. So see the term first. Look at the definition for here, whatever written it is. That adaptability is the ability of genotype. First of all, voice is breaking. Hello. Hello, students. Is it audible now?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Not audible.
Yes, ma'am. Audible. है.
Audible, ma'am, audible.
Okay. Vandana, yeah, please check your internet connection, please. I think from my side it is okay. If it is not audible to everyone, then please inform me, okay? Okay, then we'll proceed, okay? So adaptability is the ability of genotype. It is an ability of genotype to produce relatively narrow range of phenotypes in different environments. So what it is telling is, if it is the capacity, it is the what tendency of a genotype, that it will produce a certain kind of phenotype only. Whatever environment maybe it is, whether it is cold one or hot one, whatever it is, wherever you keep that genotype, wherever you grow, whether in hot climate, in temperate zone or tropical zone, wherever you grow, it will produce a certain kind of phenotype only. That capacity of the plant is called adaptability. आप प्लांट को कहीं पे भी जाके रखो, कोई भी ठंडी जगह हो या बहुत गर्म जगह हो, वो अपनी एक एक्सप्रेशन पर्टिकुलर रेंज में ही देगा, उसके बाहर नहीं देगा, ठीक है. So that particular ability of plant is called as adaptability. So from where the adaptability generates, it is a process, it is the result of the process, that is genetic homeostasis. So what is the meaning of genetic homeostasis is, there are genes, there are some genes present in the body which regulate the things that which make make sure that the individual will be showing some sort of phenotype, whatever the climate may be. Okay. Homeostasis term you all might have been knowing previously also, that let's say for human being, हम अगर ह्यूमन बीइंग को कोल्ड में भी लेके रखते हैं या हॉट क्लाइमेट में रखें, हमारे टेम्परेचर जो है वो 37 डिग्री सेल्सियस ही रहती है. ठीक है. इसी वजह से हमें गर्म क्लाइमेट में ज्यादा गर्म लगता है, क्योंकि हमारी बॉडी हीट एब्जॉर्ब कर रही होती है, और ठंडी जगह में हीट एमिट कर रही होती है, इसलिए हमें ठंड लगती है. बट बॉडी टेम्परेचर रिमेन्स ऑलवेज कांस्टेंट. सो because this sort of thing is called as homeostasis. So for this region, two types of phenomena will be working. One is genetic one will be environmental one. So we are not talking about the environmental thing. Here we are talking about the adaptability, that is the result of genetic homeostasis, that the genes inside the body of an organism, they lead to the process, this ability, they lead to give rise to this ability of the particular genotype, that is to adopt to a particular environment, to perform a narrow range of phenotype in that environment, that is adaptability. Okay. Then coming to the next one, that is adaptation. It is a process by which organism become more suited to survive or function in a given environment. Now that you have taken the plant, say originally the plant was growing in temperate climate. Okay. In temperate climate it is very cold, so you have taken the plant and now you are trying to grow it in tropical climate where the temperature is very high. So the first of all, plant directly does not die. Okay. It will try its level best that it will survive. Whether it will come to flower or fruiting, that is a different thing, but it will try to survive first there. So whatever changes will occur in the plant so that it can survive in a new climate, that process is called as adaptation. Adaptation always takes some time. Okay. And the process that leads to adaptation, the exactly what changes occur during the process of adaptation, that thing is called as acclimatization. Okay. So in the phase of adaptation, the sort of changes, exactly what change will occur, that things are called cumulatively called as acclimatization. Okay. Is these three terms clear? Acclimatization, adaptation, and adaptability, they sometimes ask directly from the definition, that's why I kept it. Okay. Then coming to the next thing, that is the acclimatization extent. It is directly determined by mode of pollination. See, if some organism is placed in a new habitat, so it may or may not find the suitable pollinator or pollination mechanism. Let's say for one plant, some pollinator was present which should be there for the plant to give rise to means it has to fertilize, it has to bring the pollen and fertilize. Insect based pollination was previously present, but we have taken that to a different climate, so in that climate that pollinator might or might not be present. So what the plant will do in that particular time is, it will try to shift the pollination mechanism. So this is a process of acclimatization. So it may change from cross pollination to somewhat towards self pollination. Okay. So that is the example of how it is changing in the method of pollination. Likewise, range of variability present in the original population, that also affects the rate of acclimatization. If we have wide range of variability is present, means some plants may not respond, but some plants will eventually respond after some time. Okay. And the duration of life cycle of the crop, that if the crop is short duration means, let's say the crop is very short duration, so it will not have to encounter many seasons, many what weathers it does not need to encounter. It will be restricted to either summer or winter or something. But if the, let's say the crop like pigeon pea or something, it will take around 7-8 months, so it has to encounter some parts of winter also, some parts of summer also, some other seasons also. So all these processes cumulatively lead to the process of acclimatization of the particular thing. Okay. After that, what they're telling is, as a result, cross pollination is much more helpful in the acclimatization than self pollination. So if the process is like cross pollination is present, means if there is enough variability, the plant may survive. Okay, so because of that reason they're telling it, no need to bother about this particular point, that is not that much important. Just I got a statement, so I put it here. So coming back to the process of domestication. So when the domestication process started, okay, so the domestication process started around 10,000 years ago. So what they used to tell is that the initial civilization, wherever it started, like we say in the Harappan and Mohenjo-daro civilization near the Tigris and Euphrates river in the Mesopotamia, that is nearby to Iraq. That area, this area was very much fertile that time. Okay, so first of all, people settled over this river ages, which are very much fertile, and they started growing the crops. So initially cereals and later on fruit crops and other things got domesticated. So what the literature say that wheat, barley were the initial crops to be domesticated. Okay, and then how the particular thing, that is the domestication, how actually domestication process occurs. So for domestication process to occur, there will be some sort of selection mechanism. Okay, that domestication means some plants are already present over there, but to bring that plant, to enable that plant that was growing in wild, means nobody was touching that plant, and it was just propagating on its own. So it would have some different mechanism. Like say previously the plant, we don't touch it. Let's say for the example, like previously present plant, that is a teosintillate, just take for example. Or you can see any sort of wild wheat relatives. There what happens is the seeds will disperse on its own. Why? Because there is nobody that take care of the particular propagating mechanism. The seed has to disperse on itself after maturation, so that the next generation can grow up. But the thing is that if the seed is dispersing, that we cannot harvest it and consume it. So later on what happened is, gradually the disperse mechanism, that self disperse mechanism got abolished, and gradually the seeds became remained intact after maturation also. So right now we can see in the wheat or maize or rice that seeds are not dispersed on its own. So that was one example of the trait, how the trait was changing during the evolution. So that change was carried forward by both the means, that is the natural selection and the artificial selection. Okay, so what do you mean by the natural selection? That is the process that occurs by the nature, that nature will select something and let it grow further. And before going for natural or artificial selection, can anybody tell me what the selection means? What do you mean by selection? Yes.
Differential rate of reproduction.
Yeah, that is the exactly definition. But what do you understand by means selection?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, selection is the process of identification and isolation of plants having desirable form of characters and
Yeah.
growing their progeny separately.
Yes. So actually means what both the students said, both are correct only. So if you just see the definition as she said, like differential reproduction rate, what do you exactly mean by that is, uh, like there are hundreds of the plant. Let's say there are 100 plants with us. So out of that 100 plants, we need to see which plants are with good characters. That character might not be good for us, but that character might be good for nature. But if the nature is selecting, means it will look for the character which is giving the maximum fitness for the organism. But if we are selecting, means we will look for the character which is giving much more higher economy. We will see from economical point of view. Okay, that is the thing. So that is a differential rate of reproduction, means we will be preferentially allowing some of the individual to reproduce in the next generation, while discarding others, while not allowing others to form seed and further grow in the remain in the population. So out of that 100 genotype, we have chosen some 15 or 16 or 20 or whatever genotypes which are good to us, or which is selected by nature. So that plants only be forwarded to the next generation. So if it is the process of the natural selection, means how the nature is selecting actually, it will select based on the fitness of the plant. Fitness in the sense, here I'm talking about fitness in the sense that how the plant can cope up to the environment, how the plant, how potential it is to give rise to the next generation, how, what is the what fierceness of the plant to survive in any extreme situation, if there is any drought, if there is any cold means cold stress or something like that. In that condition also, whichever plant is much more tough, whichever plant is much more competent, they only survive. So nature's it will other plants which are weaker and not performing well, they will be automatically eliminated. So what that will result in ultimately that the good plants only be there in the next generation, the weaker plants are eliminated. That's how the natural selection acts. Okay. And the artificial selection acts by human intervention. Definitely we are selecting the plants, so we are choosing the plants and letting them grow in the next generation. So what is the result out of the both artificial and natural selection is that in the natural selection, plant means the variability thing will be very high, variability is very high remain in case of your artificial selection, because the plant in here nature will select all kind of good characters, that is based on their fitness. But what we are choosing in the selection, artificial selection is we are selecting only for good yield. Let's say for yield we are choosing means we are selecting only for good yield. We're depending on the breeding program's aims, we are choosing for that. Let's say the plant has good yield, but it may or may not have good resistance against the disease, it may or may not have good tolerance capacity to salinity or something. So whenever we are focusing on a particular trait, we are not focusing on the other traits. But in natural selection, all the traits are simultaneously considered. So because of that reason, the natural selection always and always have good variability restored in the population. But in artificial selection, what we do, the plants become gradually less adapted to the environment. Why? Because we have selected the plants only based on certain criteria, not all. Okay, so that is the consequence of your natural selection and artificial selection. So coming to the three types of selection, here these three terms are very important, that this is the three terms types of selection, either it is done by nature also and in human intervention also. We also do this any of this type of selection. So do you anybody previously know about this, anything, any idea? Because according to that I have to explain. No, do you guys know anything about this, all this stabilizing, directional and disruptive selection? No? Please pick up. How would I get to know? Please. You know. Okay. So tell me, what is the means in what condition means what is the product of stabilizing, directional or disruptive selection? Like which sections? Here you can see it clearly, but still, what your understanding is, I just want to know.
मैम डायरेक्शनल सिलेक्शन में सिलेक्शन एक ही डायरेक्शन में होता है.
Okay.
और स्टेबलाइजिंग सिलेक्शन में बोथ डायरेक्शंस में होता है, मतलब बोथ मतलब फेवरेबल कैरेक्टर अनफेवरेबल कैरेक्टर दोनों को प्रेफर होता है. पर डायरेक्शनल सिलेक्शन में मतलब एक ही, मतलब अगर मतलब जेनेटिक्स टर्म में बोला जाए तो अगर डोमिनेंट है ना, पर डोमिनेंट को ही प्रेफर करेगा.
ओके ओके ओके, समझ गई. फिर
स्टेबलाइजिंग में बोथ डायरेक्शन से.
ओके ओके, गॉट इट. ठीक है, थैंक यू. And okay, let's I'll explain the three things now. So you see, forget about the stabilizing, you start with the directional one. So in case of your directional selection, what happens is, this is the first of all what this curve telling you. Okay, this curve tells about the mean performance of the genotype and the frequency of the phenotype in the population. That is the curve in the x and y axis. This curve, what is the out looking at the shape of the curve, can anyone tell me what is the nature of this curve? What do you call this kind of curve in statistics? It is a bell shaped curve. So what is the nature of this particular thing? Which kind of distribution is present over here? No idea. Okay, so here you can see the bell shaped curve. This curve is called bell shaped curve. Here, why? Because you can see over here, this curve is like this. It is looking like a bell in the temple. You can see the bell. So if the curve is like this, means this curve shows the normal distribution curve. So whenever you see this type of curve, it is showing that normal distribution. And this type of curve you can see in case of your quantitative trait. Okay, in case of your qualitative trait, there will be blocks. You can see the blocks, separate blocks like this over the mean. But in case of your quantitative trait, there will be some individual who is showing this particular phenotype. There will be some who is showing this. There is some this showing this, like that, from low this extreme to this extreme. Some other individual you will find the particular phenotype. So in case of your quantitative thing, you can find this type of curve. So this is what the normal distribution curve is. Now that this curve actually tells you what, if I say this particular point tells about the performance of a particular individual. Okay, so out of this, this is the original thing. Okay, this is the original population which was showing this kind of curve. Now that we did some directional selection, means directional selection, what it means is we will be selecting the only one extreme of the trait. Let's say we are selecting for uh, height. Okay, so only the tall plants, only the extreme, this side extreme, either tall or this time extreme, your dwarf plants will be there. So we will be choosing either the tall one or either the dwarf one. Okay, here we are choosing the tall one. Okay, so what will happen is, so the only the tall plants are favored and rest of the plants are not favored. And here in case of your disruptive selection, both the extremes are favored, like tall plants are also selected and dwarf plants are also selected. Both the plants are selected simultaneously. In case of your stabilizing selection, what occurs is, here we will be selecting the intermediate ones, not the any of the extreme. Whichever plants are showing intermediate phenotype, we will be selecting those plants only. Okay, so what will the result of the particular thing here? Since we are choosing only the middle ones, means the average performing ones, so the initial mean, this is the mean, right? This is the mean. So the mean will become sharper, means this curve is this much, because here the both the extremes are there. Now that the extremes are excluded, here the extremes are not there, so the curve will be shifting like this. Sorry, the curve will be shifting like this. It will become more sharper in the middle. Okay, what will happen over here? Because we only selected this particular trait, so now the population will be consist of this. All these plants are getting lost from your population. We have only this much plant. So right now all this left extreme, see here, left extreme, we have moved a lot out away from left extreme, and the point starts, the graph starts from here, because we have taken the point things that are in the right extreme. So the graph starts from here, and from out of this particular population we will be getting another peak. Okay, and here, over here you see, here both the traits are selected and middle ones are not selected. So the graph has become two parts. This particular population will have a separate mean, this particular population will have a separate mean. So here you are getting the curve, like here the lower ones are getting raised, means here the lower means what, short heighted plants, they are giving a mean over here, means they are having a good population over here. And the tall performing plants, they are having a good population over here. Here the medium perform average performing ones are almost absent. Okay, so the stabilizing selection favors the average drifts, and directional selection favors the one extreme. Disruptive selection favors the both extremes. Okay, and to tell you one 2-3 facts about this particular selection, one of our students said, so directional valve will be always producing a fully balanced genotype. Fully balanced genotype means here it will be producing, directional one will be producing the dominant means tallness. So tallness in this particular extreme will have what particular genotype it may carry? It will always carry dominant things, no? So it will be having a stable kind of expression, means all the population will have stable kind of phenotype. Okay. Then next, coming to that, stabilizing selection always it favors the average performing ones. So right now you cannot understand the dominance and average additive gene action properly. When I'll be dealing with that thing, I'll be explaining in a better way. For now, just remember that the stabilizing thing always and always favors additive gene action. It does not favor the dominance. And that is the for now, just remember it like a fact. When we'll be discussing that thing, it will become more clear. And regarding disruptive selection, there is a very famous point that disruptive selection helps you to break the tight linkages. Why? Because here we are not selecting the average performing ones, and with not selecting the average performing ones means heterozygous ones are eliminated. Only homozygotes are getting selected. Both the homozygotes are getting selected. So homozygous, they will not have any sort of linkages, isn't it? So because of that reason, disruptive selections always help your breaking tight linkages. Okay. So these three what facts you just remember. If you don't understand, we'll be getting to understand it better in case in when your quantitative genetics I'll be dealing with. That time I'll be making it more clear. Right now it might be a little bit difficult for you to understand. Okay. So let's move on to next thing. That is the center of domestication, that where the domestication would have occurred actually. So based on that, there are 6 places where the plants would have been domesticated. This table I have already given you in the WhatsApp group. So this is not a thing that I can discuss upon, so you need to remember the important ones. Okay, famous crops at least you need to remember, like rice, wheat, maize, and a few of your pulse crops like pigeon pea, chickpea. Then a few of your oilseed crops like mustard, sunflower, and soybean. Like that, you need to remember. Okay. So very rarely they used to ask from this, but go through it several times so that you can have a good idea. And this actually depicts the world map where you can see with the different regions. It is quite well depicted. So this out of apart from this table, this figure will give you a much better idea. Okay. And the place of exactly the where here I have given the regions like center of domestications. So out of this Mesoamerica or out of this South America, exactly where the crop was domesticated, these 2 tables also, this on the upcoming tables, you need to go through for the important crops. Okay. Next thing is traits associated with the domestication. What it tells is that what was the wild plants traits and what the domestication crop. There is some changes. There are some traits which are varying in the. You can see the variation in the domesticated crop and the wild plants, which made the plant more amenable to cultivation, isn't it? So, like the just take the example of let's say the example of growth habit. So initially the plant was branched and bushy in nature, but later on it became compact. Compactness helps us to grow in the plants in a particular seed rate or spacing. Okay. And if you come to the thing that is ripening, it was previously asynchronous ripening. That is, fruits will mature at different time, but later on for domestic, after when the crop is domesticated, now we can see synchronous maturing, that maturity and ripening, that crops will mature at a particular time only. Okay. And seed dormancy was previously very high, and later on it is not exactly absent. Some sort of dormancy is present, but not that much, that 1 year 2 year or like that. Okay. And the example I was previously telling you, like seed shattering, it changed to shattering heads, later changed to non-shattering heads. That is, the seeds will remain intact. Likewise, for other characters also there was changes occurred. Okay. Then domestication syndrome, I already explained you the traits that are that would be likely to be selected during initial phase of domestication. Like everywhere would have they would have selected different places also, they would have selected for these traits, like larger fruits, more robust plant, determinate growth habit, then natural seed dispersal loss. That is seeds will not disperse on its own, and there is a significant loss of seed dormancy, bitter substance would have reduced. So this sort of changes would have occurred in plant. Okay. Then this table is important from the for the SRF people especially. Here I have given the important crops and the particular genes which are responsible for the particular thing. So here you can see the classification in the last column, that is in the classification. Here the improvement means we are using this particular genes for the further improvement in the breeding programs. Okay, and here you can find some of the genes where it is mentioned like domestication. Why? Because these genes are, these are the particular genes which has made significant change in the particular traits which made the crop to be become the domesticated one. Like in case of your soybean, you see this particular DT1 gene that determines the determinate growth habit. Previously it was non-determinate type, so it was not amenable for cultivation properly. So later on it changed to, it has got some, it got mutated, and later on we became somewhat determinate growth habit. So right now also you can find some of the indeterminate plants in the germplasm, but most of the cultivated ones are determinate growth habit. Okay, so this table is very important for the SRA people. For JRF you can just go through it once, but sometimes they used to ask, but for SRF it is very important. Okay, then the here I have listed out the some of the important domestication genes. Like you say, in case of a maize, that is teosinte gene, TB1 gene. TB1 gene actually controls the apical dominance in case of your maize. So how tall the maize will be, that is determined by this particular gene. And this teosinte gloom architecture. So you can see the flower structure and the further the seed was very used to be very small in case of your teosinte. Later on the individual grains or the kernels become larger. So all these genes are responsible for that. In case of your wheat, the skew gene is a major gene which was involved in shattering ability, tenacity of the chaff, and the compaction of spike. So all these traits were taken care of during the evolution of the particular crop, that is wheat. So q gene is a major gene for domestication in case of your wheat. In case of your rice, you can see the shattering gene, that is the SH4 gene, and this red pericarp gene. These two genes are very important, and they lead to maximum part of your domestication. In case of a tomato, you can see the fruit weight gene that are led to the increased food mass between the cultivated tomato. I can't show you the, I forgot to put the picture over here. So if you see the previously means wild species of tomato crop, you can find the crop means the tomatoes what that fruits are very small. So that is not good for us. No, we want it is some it in a particular weight or standard weight at least. So this fruit weight gene made it help in the increase in the fruit mass. Then there is another term that is called super domestication. Super domestication means there will be some sort of thing that will happen in a particular crop that will lead to a massive change, that will lead to a not a sudden thing, but it will lead to a drastic change in the habitat or in any form of the plant, which will make the crop more adopted one, or more accepted by the human civilization. Like you see here I have given the example, that is the hybrid rice or conversion of C3 to C4 photosynthesis. Hybrid rice, why? Because previously rice as you know, it is a self pollinated crop. So to make the varieties and further improvement, we were not getting any significant jump in the yield. Okay, so when as you all know that the father of the hybrid rice, that is from China, he's from China, that is Yuan Longping. He made this thing, that is the hybrid rice. So after the hybrid rice production, we got a significant amount of increase in the yield. Okay, so that made a huge change in the cultivation aspects of rice, isn't it? So another thing which I mentioned over here is C3 to C4. C3 mechanism is something different and C4 mechanism is something different. If the plant changes from C3 to C4, in that way we can manipulate the amount of the what photosynthetic that the plant produce, amount of photosynthetic available for the amount of photosynthesis that can be accumulated in the form of seed or fruit. So that is a major jump can happen if we can convert the plants from C3 to C4. Okay, so that is about the process, that is super domestication. And here the process, that is two processes, domestication and evolution, they go side by side. Why I am telling this? Because domestication means we are bringing the plant under our own what our own management process. But side by side the evolution process is going on, that plant is evolving on its own. Some sort of mutations are getting created day by day, and some sort of changes are happening to cope up with the changing scenario of environment. Plant is also evolving. Okay, so for this process to happen, there should be enough amount of genetic variation should be present in the population, and for that there will be some sort of change in allele frequency that will be brought about by your mutation, and there should be limited migration should be there. That there should not be reproductive isolation. If the reproductive isolation is occurring, means how the crossing phenomena will occur, so that may hinder the process in some way or other. So if the reproductive isolation is occurring, means it may lead to some sort of new species creation, that is a process of speciation. But if the particular species wants to grow, means it should be there at a amenable area where they can intermate. Coming to the, I have mentioned a few examples how the crop would have domesticated. So the corn is believed to have domesticated in the Balsas river. Balsas river is present at the area that is in Mexico. Okay, so that particular river is called as the cradle of corn domestication. This is a important point, which area is called as the cradle of corn domestication, means focus point of corn domestication that has occurred in the Balsas river near the in Mexico. Okay, and the archaeological studies also have found that this might be the particular origin. Here you can see the old maize, and right now the maize, here you can see very few kernels are there, and right now the kernel number has also increased, the compactness is also increased. Here you can see the wild relatives and wild forms of the particular thing. And right now the maize cob, you see, it has grown bigger, it has much more number of fruit, number of kernels, and it has colors changed, everything. It was very dark in color, but right now it is yellow color has become. Okay, coming to the rice, that is the Asiatic rice, it would have domesticated somewhere. They used to it would have originated in India, Thailand, somewhere in China. So used to call this as three, um, that is your Asiatic rice. So it is having your three things. I just now forgot. Just a second. Mm. I'm just forgetting the name exactly what it was. Can anybody recall what was the name? Just a second,
Me,
just a second.
me indica, japonica, javanica.
Oh, yes. I'm so sorry. I just forgot. Yeah. So based on that, in the Asiatic rice which originated in India, that was indica, and Thailand, which was originated in Thailand, that was called as indica, japonica, and javanica. This was javanica, and japonica was originated somewhere in southern China and nearby to Japan. Okay, thank you so much. I just forgot that particular thing. Okay, so Asiatic rice is believed to have domesticated near the Yangtze River Valley in case of your China. Okay, so China, from there it was first domesticated, and later on it spread to other regions. Then coming to the African rice, it was independently domesticated. Means Asiatic rice was domesticated somewhere in Asia, and this was domesticated in somewhere in Africa, on Niger River Delta. Okay, in case of your Africa. Then coming to potato, they used to think like that potato was present very old, and during some period of time, they used to potato was very valuable. And here the one of the fact says that during that gold rush, means that time gold was available in so much amount, but the potatoes are not available. And that time potatoes are actually worth their weight. Means you can get the potato if you just give that much amount of gold to the seller. Okay, so it was that much value in some period in the past. Okay, and potato is believed to this is the fact that in case of your space research, potato become the first crop to be grown in case of your space. But how much success that is, means it is still ambiguous. But they have tried to grow the potato in case of your in space also. Okay. Coming to the next term, this is all about your center of origin thing. Okay. Yeah, center of origin. So now tell me, what is center of origin? What do you understand by center of origin? Anybody? Yes, fast. We are running out of time.
Maximum genetic diversity is present here.
No? Okay. So a center of origin is actually the area where where the crop would have been originated initially. Yeah, you can say that. Means that is the area where the crop would have been originated, and definitely if the crop would have been originated there, means it is bound to have good amount of diversity. Okay, so that is the center of origin, and this concept was given by N.I. Vavilov, as you all know.
Voice
N.I.
breaking.
Vavilov has given this concept, and he has initially proposed that a center of origin, as you all know, and he followed the idea of Epid Candele, actually Alphonse de Candele. He was means previous to Babylon. He initially studied on this origin and everything, and his book is Origin of Cultivated Plants. Hello.
मैम बीच बीच में वॉइस ब्रेक हो रहा है.
So he was the Prilov. He has studied the origins, but plant was given only by N.I. Vavilov, as you all know. Yeah. So the book written by Vavilov is very important. That is on the origin of the cultivated plants. Okay, and he was a Russian scientist basically. Then coming to the next thing, that he has given that the famous law, that is the law of homologous series of variation. What the law tells is like if you can if one trait is found in the particular plant, it will be bound to be there. It can be found in the related species also. Okay, that thing is law of homologous series of variation. And this law actually helps us in understanding the behavior of the related species, for which less amount of research has been done. Okay. So this is the thing, that is the initially he has given 8 centers of origin. Later on he expanded that thing to 11 centers of origin. That he has expanded the initial center of origin from Hindustan center, he has subdivided into Indo-Burma and Siam Malaya region, and South America he has subdivided into Peru, Chile, and Brazil, Paraguay centers. So like this, he has first of all described the 8 center of origin, and later on he expanded to 11. Okay. And here two terms are important, that is the primary center of origin and secondary center of origin. Primary center of origin is the one where the crop was actually domesticated, so there are 8 primary centers. Secondary center of origin is that where the crop was later on introduced from primary center, and it is much more adopted there, and it shows a significant amount of variation over that particular area. So that is the secondary center of origin. Okay. So each crop will have primary and secondary center of origin. From here you need to remember the important ones. So out of the all center of origin, the Chinese center of origin is the largest and oldest independent center of origin, as you all know. And for the important crops you need to remember the facts. And coming to the second next thing, that is the Coming to the next thing, that is the center of diversity. Here the many books say many different things. Some books say that center of origin and center of diversity can be used as synonymous, but the thing is that center of diversity, that depends on the opinion of various scientists. In case of, if you go through the your BD Singh book, there it is mentioned like at some point of time we can call the center of origin as center of diversity. Why? Because center of origin has ample amount of diversity already present. So previously, which is having the origin, that may have the good amount of diversity also. So later on they have called that center of origin can be more appropriately called as center of diversity. Okay, that's what that particular book says. Because the mountain valleys and river areas, they will have maximum amount of diversity, and that particular mountain valleys and areas coincide with the center of origin. So later on, this book, BD Singh book, tells you that center of origins may be more appropriately called as center of diversity. But according to the reference of your Fundan Singh book, there it tells that center of origin and center of diversity has some sort of differences. Like you see, in case of your center of origin, it is originated, but uh, the center of diversity means it will have the highest amount of variability. Okay, but the clear cut difference between them is not present anywhere, because some sort of terms are always contradicting. And but you can say in some way that center of diversity is much more appropriate one to use. Okay, and here there is another scientist name is mentioned, like Jukovsky. He has actually recognized, after Vavilov, he has recognized 12 mega centers of plant diversity. Okay, and here another name comes, that is Jack Harlan. He also recognized the crop as per the centers of diversity only, and he has said that the crops may have multiple centers of diversity. Okay, not like one center of diversity, and it may have some diffuse center, means there some crops might not have a particular center of origin. It may have diffuse center, means the diversity may be spread over a larger area than initially imagined. Okay, that's what he thought initially. And here this point might be new for you, because I have collected separately. It is not present in both of your textbooks. So here it tells that how the crop would have been, in the how the diversity will be found, means some crop might be endemic. Endemic means that crop will be limited to a particular area, and its cultivation and everything will be remaining to a particular area only, that is endemic. And semi-endemic means it will have been originated in a particular center, but it will have some sort of dispersal. Some sort of dispersal is there. Monocentric means the crop with a defined center of origin, but there will be another center of origin where it would have been dispersed later on also, but originally it will have one center of origin basically. That is monocentric, because it is having only one center of origin. Later on it has dispersed from there. Okay, oligocentric means crop with defined center of origin, but more than one, means one center of origin will be there, but the diversity is found in more than one place. That particular crops can be called as oligocentric. Non-centric means where the variation pattern cannot be exactly figured out. Those sort of crops are called non-centric. Okay, so these terms might be new. Just go through this. If you find any doubt, then ask me. Okay, then Harlan divided the crops into this six particular centers of diversity, and the particular crop he has allotted the different zones also, like Near East, Africa, China, Southeast Asia, Mesoamerica, and South America, like that. Okay, coming to the next thing, that is the micro center. What the micro center actually tells you is, micro center is a particular area within your center of diversity, where we can found, where in a very small area, within a small area, you can find much more amount of diversity to be gathered together. That particular thing is called as micro center. Okay, then okay, coming the next thing, that is gene pool. Gene pool, what the gene pool terms tell you? Can anyone tell me definition of gene pool? Yes, fast.
Sum total
Yes,
of genes present in an organism.
yes. What about germplasm?
एक ही है मैम, एक ही चीज है.
question.
Ma'am,
Yeah. Yeah.
ma'am, germplasm is the collection of all kind of alleles of all genes, but a gene pool is the group where the two individuals can hybridize together.
Yeah, means in my understanding I also find that sort of explanation for these two terms. Sometimes what occurs is like in the books they have given the definitions which are quite similar. Both germplasm and gene pool, you'll find it quite similar. But what I have figured out is, according to my understanding, germplasm, whenever we are talking about germplasm, we will talk about the germplasm of either rice or wheat, like that we used to talk, isn't it? So germplasm includes all the things, starting from your as the your book says, and as everything says, starting from your land races till it goes like your varieties, breeding lines, stocks, wild relatives, wild forms, everything is included in your germplasm. It does not categorize the plants. It does not categorize the plants within a particular species, within a particular means the related to particular species, that can whether they are hybridized with each other or not. Okay, it will be just gathering all the things that a particular crop is related to. Okay, so that is germplasm. Okay, now what the gene pool is? Gene pool is a thing that is gathers, it only includes the genes or alleles of all such individuals, means all the individuals which can intermate with each other with some sort of result. That result may vary from very high level of fertility to complete sterility also. Depending on the that we have categorized the gene pools. Like primary gene pool, here you can find 100% fertility. Secondary gene pool, there will be limited amount of fertility. Third, the tertiary gene pool, here there will be very less fertility or total infertility will be there, but some sort of rescue programs can be undertaken. Okay, so that is the basic difference which I find between the gene pool and the germplasm. But many of the books you find that they have used the two terms synonymously, but very minute difference is there. Okay, I think means that is according to my understanding, whatever I understood I told you. But that is not a point to bother about. Anywhere they're not going to ask this, but for your understanding point of view, that's why I asked this, because you can find all these things in your books, but nobody's going to tell you what the exact difference between them. Okay, I hope it is clear. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
मैम
Okay. Yeah.
मैम मेरा एक डाउट है
Yeah,
वो है
bolo.
कि मैम जो सेकेंडरी सेंटर ऑफ ओरिजिन है ना, उसको हम सेंटर ऑफ डोमेस्टिकेशन कह सकते हैं?
सेंटर ऑफ डोमेस्टिकेशन कैसे?
मैम क्योंकि डेफिनेशन में आपने ये लिखा था जो
बोलो बोलो. हेलो, या बोलो.
हाँ मैम, वो था कि मैम कहीं से इंट्रोड्यूस कराते हैं, मतलब सेकेंडरी सेंटर ऑफ ओरिजिन का डेफिनेशन ये था कि इंट्रोड्यूस होता है। तो डोमेस्टिकेशन का भी वही डिफरेंस है कि हम उसके ओरिजिन से ही और एक नई जगह को इंट्रोड्यूस करते हैं।
डोमेस्टिकेशन का एग्जैक्ट मतलब ये है कि हम वो चीज को अडॉप्ट कर सकें, मतलब हम उस चीज को अपने ही तरीके से ग्रो कर सकें। जब एक चीज जो वाइल्ड में था, जिसको हम कल्टीवेट नहीं कर पा रहे थे, ठीक है, मतलब उसके ट्रेड्स ऐसे थे ही नहीं कि जो हम ह्यूमंस यूज कर सकें, ठीक है। वो ऐसे बहुत कांटेदार पेड़ था, जिसके पास बहुत छोटे सीड्स थे, बहुत मतलब तीखा होता था या फिर कड़वा होता था खाने में, जिसको हम यूज नहीं कर सकते थे, वैसे फॉर्म में था। लेटर ऑन उसमें हमने चेंजेस किया या फिर नेचर ने चेंजेस किया, अल्टीमेटली जो कि यूजेबल फॉर्म में आया। दैट प्रोसेस इज कॉल्ड एज योर डोमेस्टिकेशन। जो दैट डोमेस्टिकेशन जिस जगह पे हुई उसको हम बोलेंगे सेंटर ऑफ डोमेस्टिकेशन। ओके, देन सेकेंडरी सेंटर ऑफ ओरिजिन में मैंने ये बताया वेयर इट हैज बीन इंट्रोड्यूस्ड फ्रॉम प्राइमरी सेंटर ऑफ ओरिजिन, लाइक द पीपल फ्रॉम लेट्स से ऑल दोज what people who have inhabited the different areas like Portuguese or English or those kind of people, English people, they used to transfer some of their foods to, means see, you can find the soybean was introduced into India somewhere in 1900 something, and cauliflower and cabbage, everything were introduced by some people like that it is mentioned in the subsequent chapters of your introduction chapter, you can find it. So they have introduced it, but thing is that by the time of introduction it was already in cultivable form, so there is no need of domestication there. Okay, so what I am trying to say is initially उस जगह पे जो भी प्राइमरी सेंटर ऑफ ओरिजिन था वहां पे बहुत सारी डाइवर्सिटी वहां पे प्रेजेंट थी, वहां पे क्रॉप एक्चुअली ओरिजिन हुआ था और उसकी मैक्सिमम डाइवर्सिटी वहां पे पाई जाती है। सेकेंडरी सेंटर कौन सा बनेगा, मान लो कि मान लो किसी एक का एग्जांपल हम ले लेते हैं तो तुम्हें क्लियर आइडिया आ जाएगा। एक मिनट। तो हमने बाद में किसी क्रॉप को, मान लो हमने किसी क्रॉप को अमेरिका से इंडिया लेके आ गए, तो पता पड़ा कि इंडिया का जो क्लाइमेट था वो क्रॉप के लिए ज्यादा सुइटेबल है, ठीक है, तो यहाँ पे उसकी डाइवर्सिटी बहुत ज्यादा हो गई, तो फिर यहाँ से फर्दर कहीं पे डिस्पर्स हुआ होगा, तो उस सेंस में उस जगह को हम सेकेंडरी सेंटर बोलेंगे। तो हम ये डायरेक्टली नहीं बोल सकते कि सेकेंडरी सेंटर के अंदर आने के बाद उसका डोमेस्टिकेशन हुआ है या नहीं हुआ है। हो सकता है दोनों चीज कोइंसाइड करे किसी किसी क्रॉप के लिए, पर हम डायरेक्टली ऐसा नहीं बोल सकते। समझे, समझ आया?
हाँ मैम।
और कोई डाउट, मतलब कहीं पे अटके हुए हो, समझे नहीं?
नहीं मैम, सब समझ गए।
क्लियर नो?
हाँ मैम।
ओके ओके, लेट्स मूव टू द नेक्स्ट थिंग। कहाँ पे थे हम लोग? या so I was talking about microcentres and gene pool. ठीक है, so here gene pool I already told you it is constitute the GP1, that is gene pool 1, and the traits you already know. If anyone does not know, please let me know. Everyone, I guess everyone know. Here the GP2 it tells about the species that is crossable, but it with a different some sort of difficulty level. Then GP3, this will include intergenetic species, and here it is very less amount of success rate is there. You have to use the special techniques like embryo rescue and tissue culture, all those things. GP4, as I told you, that will be coming, that will be including all the things, other species actually, other species apart from the particular thing, that may include microbes, that may include other plants or animals, everything. So that particular group is called as ocean group. Okay, that particular group, what it is called? It is called as ocean group. Okay, so here the major thing is the transgenics are the important factor of this particular thing. Okay, yes, and it is GP4 is also called as a quaternary gene pool, right? So coming to the germplasm thing, as I told you already, the germplasm definition, that is, it will include all the related material to the particular species, that is either the germplasm or the hereditary material, as your book says, that is sum total of hereditary material. I don't want to go through the definition because I want you to understand what the thing is. You can find the definition in your books, but the literal meaning means what you need to know about the particular thing is, that's what I am discussing right now. So germplasm will include everything that is related to a particular species. Okay, so under germplasm, what are the things that comes? That is the land races, obsolete varieties, varieties under cultivation, breeding lines, wild forms, wild relatives, everything will come. Here, the thing that is the land race, that is very important to understand. Can anyone tell me fast what are the characteristics of land race, when we can call the thing as land race? Yes. What do you think about land race? What are the properties of land race?
They are primitive.
Yeah, one by one.
Resistance to diseases and
Okay.
biotic antibiotics.
Okay. Next.
Ma'am, they are the primitive species.
Yeah, then.
मैम लैंड रेसेस की यील्ड बहुत कम होती है एज कंपेयर टू कल्टीवेटेड स्पीशीज।
अच्छा, ओके, क्यों? एनी आइडिया क्यों कम होती है?
बिकॉज क्या होता है कि वो ज़्यादा ही नेचुरल, उनका अडेप्टेशन बहुत कम होता है और वेरिएशन बहुत ज़्यादा होता है नेचर में।
नहीं, उनका एडॉप्टेशन अच्छा खासा होता है, पर उनकी जो पोटेंशियल है ना, यील्ड पोटेंशियल ही कम होती है। उनके अंदर जीन्स जो है, दैट वाज नॉट टच्ड बाय एनी ऑफ द इंडिविजुअल, ओनली द नेचुरल सिलेक्शन इज ऑपरेटिंग इन द लैंड रेसेस. ओके, इट इज नॉट मेड बाय एनी सॉर्ट ऑफ systematic breeding efforts. So whatever initially the genes present over there, no, they are only trying to survive. Plant is trying to make it survive. It is not meant for good yield. Okay, the plant is only trying to survive and propagate itself. That is the on any other plant's nature, that you have any of the organism nature. But it is, since it is not touched by, since it is not hindered or intervened by human interference, that's why it is means what naturally whatever its potential is, that's how it is performs. Okay, next, anything else? I think most of the points you already have covered. First thing is that they are primitive in nature, that is they have evolved through million years of evolution naturally, so they have maximum amount of variation present in them, maximum amount of adaptability is present among them, they are wide in genetic base, they have the, they are the sources for much of the important genes which can be used in under your various unfavorable condition. But they will have very low yield. Why? Because low yield but stable yield, they will not be very high, like you can see in case of your few lines, natural means artificially developed lines, they may be performing good under good condition, but if you just don't give the varieties or high yielding varieties good fertilizer or something, they will perform very bad. But this condition is not there in case of a landrace, they are performing good under your good condition also, that average performance is there in case of your bad condition, poor environmental conditions also. So that is a property of your land race. Okay, land race are very important. From here they used to ask so many questions, so you need to focus on this particular thing. Next thing which is very
Ma'am,
confusing.
sorry, ma'am.
Yeah,
Ma'am, please repeat that point again. Why it is having low yield?
कौन सी? Yeah, please
Ma'am,
repeat.
why the land bases are having low yield?
Low
Completely.
yield, why? Because low yield, why? Because it is naturally, it is not hindered by human. Are you getting my point? Shall I explain in Hindi? Are you comfortable with Hindi?
Ma'am, anything.
ओके ओके। सो मैंने ये बताया कि जो लैंड रेसेस होती है उनमें कोई ब्रीडिंग एफर्ट हमने नहीं किया होता है, नेचुरली जो चीज है उसमें वही एक्सप्रेस करती है। अभी हमारे पास जो हाइल्डिंग लाइंस हमारे पास जो है वो कैसे है कि हमने चूज कर करके सिलेक्शन कर करके उसमें अंदर रखी हुई है अच्छी खासी जीन्स, इस वजह से वो अच्छी यील्ड दे रही है। पर जो हाई यील्डिंग लाइन है उसके अंदर हमने अच्छी जीन्स मतलब यील्ड के जीन्स तो डाले हैं पर रेजिस्टेंस यील्ड नहीं डाले, तो उस वजह से वो कभी भी खराब परफॉर्म कर सकते हैं। मतलब वो बहुत अच्छी यील्ड भी दे सकते हैं, अगर हमने उसको अच्छी एनवायरनमेंट नहीं दी तो बहुत बुरी यील्ड भी देते हैं। पर इन केस ऑफ योर लैंड रेसेस, बिकॉज दे आर अडोप्टेड टू द एनवायरनमेंट वेरी वेल, सो उनके पास हो सकता है कि उनके पास अच्छे जीन ही नहीं है, इस वजह से वो खराब यील्ड देते हैं। पर जो भी यील्ड देते हैं वो स्टेबल रहेगा हर हमेशा, वो चेंज नहीं होता।
But ma'am, selection is done as it is used to be cultivated by the farmers.
Cultivated by farmers, land races are cultivated by farmers, but sometimes they are focused on some sort of aroma or some sort of colors, so they used to focus on that. So I'm not telling very low yield, but it will have a generalized idea is that, because but scientifically generalized breeding efforts are not made, so they may not have that much high amount of yield. Let's say for example the means in the varieties which are grown in village areas normally, where they used to save the seeds from very early times, they will be having some sort of yield, means they are satisfied with that much of yield, farmers are satisfied with that much of yield. But you see in case of your hybrid varieties or improved varieties, yield level is much of the higher. Do you agree with me or not?
Yes, ma'am.
So that is the difference. Means previously people used to think that okay, एक और दो टन अगर हार्वेस्ट हो गया तो साल भर का खाना उनका बन जाएगा, so that is okay, that's what they used to do. So that's why they means अपने जो भी हार्वेस्ट बचा उसी हार्वेस्ट को वो कुछ सीड को रख देंगे नेक्स्ट सीजन के लिए, कुछ वो फूड के लिए यूज करेंगे। बट जब भी हम नई मतलब जैसे नई वेराइटीज और वो सब यूज करने लगते हैं, तो उसकी वजह से क्या होता है कि उसकी वजह से क्या होता है कि हमें ज्यादा यील्ड मिलती है। तो उस सेंस में मैंने बोला कि मतलब ये नहीं है कि बहुत खराब यील्ड होती है, पर जो भी यील्ड होती है कंपेयर टू द प्रोसेस जहाँ पे ब्रीडिंग एफर्ट्स इन्वॉल्व हुई है, उसके कंपैरिजन में इसकी यील्ड लो होगी, उस सेंस में मैंने बोला। पर उसकी यील्ड बहुत स्टेबल होगी। ओके
Okay.
okay next, that two terms are there, that is the wild forms and wild relatives. Anybody can tell me the difference between these two?
Ma'am, a wild form is the progenitor. And, ma'am, wild relatives, ma'am, that belongs to the same family, but
Yeah,
not the
yeah,
same genus.
exactly. Wild forms are the
Ma'am, like
things.
Agilospheltoids in wheat. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah. Means wild species, wild forms are actually wild species. Wild species means the thing from where the cultivated one exactly just previously, means just previous to this particular thing, which is directly derived from a particular line, that thing is called as your wild form. Okay. But the wild relatives are distant relatives. Let's say I'll take the example of a particular family. So your parents can be equivalent, means you can what you can just look it as similar to your wild forms. So you are directly derived from your parents, no, or your grandparents. They are your wild forms. But your distant relatives, let's say your uncle's brother or somebody 2-3 generation back, so they are all the big fat family which consists of all these things, that is actually forms the wild relatives. So you take your relatives as wild relatives and your own family as wild forms, so you'll better understand, isn't it? Is it clear? Hello, is it clear?
Yes,
Wild
ma'am.
relatives and wild forms. Okay, so let's move to the next thing. What is the time right now? Just a second. Okay, we are running out of time. Okay, I think we have to wind up here. So tell me if you have any doubt. We have so much left today, but okay, anyhow, we'll be going for germplasm conservation in the next class. It is a very important topic from your examination point of view, so I don't want to rush it. Any doubt in today's class?
मैम,
Yeah.
अडेप्टेबिलिटी जो था ना, डेफिनेशन उसका था कि नैरो रेंज ऑफ फिनोटाइप प्रोड्यूस करता है।
हाँ।
क्या वो मतलब कि अगर एनवायरनमेंट उसको अच्छा सूट करे तो क्या वाइड रेंज ऑफ फिनोटाइप नहीं हो सकता?
सी नैरो और वाइड रेंज का मतलब क्या था वहां पे? नैरो रेंज का मतलब ये था कि मान लो कोई प्लांट या कोई वेराइटी है, ठीक है, वेराइटी का हमने कुछ कैरेक्टरिस्टिक बोल के रखे होंगे ना कि इसकी ईल्ड इतनी होनी चाहिए, इसकी हाइट इतनी होनी चाहिए, कि वो टॉल वेराइटी है या शॉर्ट वेराइटी है, या लॉन्ग ड्यूरेशन है या शॉर्ट ड्यूरेशन है, हम कैरेक्टरिस्टिक बोलते हैं हर एक वेराइटी का। सो वरना हो गया तो उसकी एक पर्टिकुलर कैरेक्टरिस्टिक होगी, वो शॉर्ट ड्यूरेशन में आती है, लॉन्ग ड्यूरेशन में आती है, जो भी है। तो नैरो रेंज ऑफ फिनोटाइप इन द सेंस दैट कि वो अगर शॉर्ट ड्यूरेशन में आती है तो शॉर्ट में से इधर को 5 दिन, उधर को 5 दिन, इधर को 10 दिन, उधर को 10 दिन हो सकता है। बट ये नहीं होगा कि पूरा जो शॉर्ट ड्यूरेशन क्रॉप था वो पूरा तुम्हारा लॉन्ग ड्यूरेशन में चला गया, अगर तुमने उसको अपनी जो एडोप्टेड जगह में नहीं ग्रो किया, किसी दूसरी जगह पे ग्रो किया, तो ऐसा नहीं होगा कि पूरा शॉर्ट ड्यूरेशन क्रॉप जो है वो पूरी लॉन्ग ड्यूरेशन बन जाएगा, ऐसा नहीं होगा। दैट इज द थिंग, दैट इज एडोप्टेबिलिटी। अब बोलो तुम कहाँ पे नहीं समझे थे? हेलो।
मतलब मैम कि ये हुआ कि अगर वो एक जगह पे मतलब एक जगह पे सूटेबल है, वो अगर
हाँ,
दूसरे जगह को जाएगा तो मतलब कि वो अच्छा परफॉर्म नहीं कर सकता।
वो अच्छा परफॉर्म मतलब एडोप्ट जो, इफ यू से दैट, हम अगर ये बोलते हैं कि ये जो लाइन है उसकी एडोप्टेबिलिटी अच्छी है मतलब उसका ये डायरेक्ट मीनिंग होगा कि तुम अगर उसको दूसरी जगह पे, उसके एडोप्टेड जगह को छोड़ के दूसरी जगह पे भी लेके जाते हो तो उसकी जो परफॉर्मेंस में ज्यादा वेरिएशन नहीं आएगा,
हाँ,
थोड़ी बहुत वेरिएशन आएगी। नैरो रेंज ऑफ वेरिएशन मतलब थोड़ी बहुत ही वेरिएशन आएगी उसकी परफॉर्मेंस में, वो दूसरी जगह पे भी अच्छा परफॉर्म कर सकता है
ठीक है
अगर
मैम।
तुम बोलते हो कि कोई प्लांट का एडोप्टेबिलिटी अच्छा है।
हाँ मैम, थैंक
और वो एडोप्टेबिलिटी अच्छा कब होगा? जब उस प्लांट के पास ब्रॉड जेनेटिक बेस होगा। ब्रॉड जेनेटिक बेस मतलब वो प्लांट अगर मास सिलेक्टेड लाइन ले लो या फिर तुम्हारी कोई
यू।
सा
क्रॉस
क्रॉस पोलिनेटेड स्पीशीज ले लो, या फिर तुम्हारी जो लैंड रेसेस होती है उनके पास बहुत सारी जीन्स होती है ना, तो उसके वजह से कुछ जीन अगर सर्वाइव, कुछ जीन अगर वहां पे उनका परफॉर्मेंस हैम्पर हो भी रहा है कुछ लाइंस का, तो और कुछ प्लांट्स होंगे उस पॉपुलेशन में जो वो उस जगह पे भी परफॉर्म कर सकते हैं, ठीक है। तो ब्रॉड जेनेटिक बेस्ड थिंग विल हैव बेटर एडेप्टेबिलिटी टू डिफरेंट एनवायरमेंट्स। Okay.
हाँ मैम.
Yeah. Yeah, please. Hello, somebody was saying something. Difference between stability and adaptation. Okay. Stability. Stability, you can understand in this sense that stability is similar to that of means the ability to perform a what, give a particular range, like the adaptability it said, no, it has the good adaptability, means it will be having good stability. In other terms, you can say, if the thing is that the performance is coming in a particular range, means it has a good stability. Over here the stability is checked over here and over area also. Okay. Adaptability is checked basically over your what, over a particular time, but stability is checked over different periods, like इस साल उसने कितना yield दिया और दूसरे साल में कितना दे रहा है, तीसरे साल में कितना दे रहा है, उस रेंज में अगर तुम्हें कुछ स्टैंडर्ड रेंज मिल जाता है कि हाँ इतना वेरिएशन नहीं आ रही, दैट इज स्टेबिलिटी. एडॉप्टेशन मतलब एडॉप्टेशन इज नॉट ए phenomena, it is a process. Okay. It is a process that when you are taking a new genotype to a different area, it will try to survive over there. So that process of survival is called adaptation, and in that process of adaptation, whatever changes it is making, that is called as your acclimatization process. Okay. It is adapting to particular climate, so it is called as acclimatization process. Is it clear? Okay. Anything else?
Ma'am, one point was there in disruptive selection that ma'am, it helps to break the tight linkages.
Yeah.
Ma'am, can you explain it again, please?
Yeah. Actually thing is that I think you might not be able to biparental mating and all you don't know
Yes,
right
ma'am.
now,
Yes,
no?
ma'am.
So for now you just remember it like a fact. When I'll be dealing with the quantitative genetics, no, we'll be studying more about biparental mating, all the selection procedures. That time you will understand it better. That's why I not touch that point why it is breaking tight linkages. I have a very good explanation for that, but thing is that you may not be able to understand it right now. That's why I just skipped it. Anyhow, I'll just tell you how it is working. So see, tight linkages means linkage. What do you mean by linkage? Is first is the two or more than two genes, they're inherited together. Okay. Together means, let's say there are good gene or bad gene. Let's say good yield contributing gene is associated with on character. On character we don't want, that is an undesirable thing, but it is associated with yield. So wherever you will find good yield, that plants will have on character, means on will be present in that particular tree. So that is a undesirable linkage. So to break that thing, we want good yield, but we don't want that on to be present on the seed. So what we have to do is we have to make the disruptive selection. Okay. So how the disruptive selection is breaking that particular thing is, here we are selecting in disruptive selection, we are selecting for the both extremes, right? Hello,
Yes, ma'am.
who asked me the question? Yeah. Are you getting my point up to this?
Yes, ma'am.
So in
Yes, ma'am.
disruptive selection, what we are doing is we are selecting from the both extremes, right? Both
Yes, ma'am.
extremes only we are selecting, means the plant we are selecting, the what is the constitution, genetic constitution of the particular plant, that will be either completely homozygous recessive or completely homozygous dominant, isn't it? For the particular trait, for the particular trait,
Yes,
the
ma'am.
genotype will be either completely homozygous recessive or completely homozygous dominant. So whenever you see the dominant thing is, means capital A or small a are getting selected, is there any means a combination that may exist that dominant thing will be associated with recessive one? There is no condition, no? Either the dominants are going and recessives are going, no, at one place.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So basically your linkages are present as coupling or repulsion phase. There you can see dominant thing is there or dominant recessive things are there. So basically for breaking the repulsion phase of linkage, this is very quite useful, where the repulsion phase you can find dominant allele is associated with a recessive one. Okay, one dominant allele is associated with a recessive one. So here, since we are not selecting any sort of heterozygotes, so heterozygotes are completely eliminated, only homozygotes are selected. So in that way it is breaking the tight linkages.
Yes, ma'am. Got it. Yes, ma'am.
I think you are not clear, but that's why I told you, like, when we'll be dealing that particular thing, no, it will become much clear. So have you got a little bit of idea what I am talking about?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I got it, ma'am.
If you are interested, means you just try to read something on biparental mating. Are you preparing for JRF or SRF, may know?
GRF, ma'am.
Okay, so you might not be having any idea on biparental. Anyhow, I'll be coming in the next class. Just remind me once in the WhatsApp group. I'll be trying to explain it in a better way, which you can understand. Okay, just remind me once. Yeah.
Okay.
Any other thing? Any other doubts? No, don't have any doubts. Today's topic is means very usual one, but from here also there are several questions which might be confusing, and see, in breeding section especially, everything seems very easy while reading it. Okay, but you have to be very careful while answering the questions, or else you might commit some mistake in that. Okay, so what I will suggest, last class also I told you, don't mug up the things, try to understand the things much, means that will help you in answering the questions much better way. Okay, okay, anything else? I think you all are tired out of 2 classes, isn't it?
Oh man.
मैम मैम एक शेड्यूल होता तो सही होता मैम.
हाँ, शेड्यूल बन चुका है, ऑलमोस्ट रेडी हो चुका है. आई एम सो सॉरी, आप लोगों को लग रहा होगा क्या कर रहे हैं, इतना देरी क्यों हो रही है, पर चीज ये है कि हमें मतलब 4-5 जन जो भी हम आप लोगों को पढ़ा रहे हैं, सबके बीच में कोऑर्डिनेशन रखना पड़ेगा ना, कि कौन किस दिन फ्री है, कौन किस दिन क्लास ले सकता है. और क्योंकि ऐसे ही किसी रश में हम लोग क्लास लेंगे तो वो तो इफेक्टिव होगा नहीं. ठीक है, तो इस वजह से सबका कोऑर्डिनेशन बना के हम लोग एक शेड्यूल प्रिपेयर कर रहे हैं. शेड्यूल ऑलमोस्ट बन चुका है, बस उसमें आपका कौन से दिन कौन सी क्लास होगा उतना एंटर करना बाकी है. ठीक है, उसके बाद आपको कंप्लीट शेड्यूल मिल जाएगा. ठीक है,
ठीक है मैम.
हेलो,
ठीक है मैम.
जस्ट गिव मी सम टाइम. ओके, आई नो, मीन्स ये बहुत दिक्कत हो जाता है पढ़ने में, कि मतलब नेक्स्ट क्लास कब होने वाला है और क्या होने वाला है पता नहीं है. तो मैं आपको ब्रीफ हेलो, am I audible, students?
हाँ मैम.
सॉरी, एक्चुअली मेरा लैपटॉप शट डाउन हो गया, चार्ज खत्म हो गया था। तो मैं क्या बोल रही थी कि आपका मंडे और वेंसडे को जेनेटिक्स क्लास होगा, फिर वेंसडे को छोड़ के थर्सडे को आपका टिश्यू कल्चर, साइटोजेनेटिक्स उस सब सेक्शन का क्लास होगा और बायोटेक सेक्शन का। फिर फ्राइडे को आपको पैथोलॉजी का होगा, फ्राइडे या सैटरडे को, ठीक है। फिर संडे को आपका ब्रीडिंग का होगा, सैटरडे और संडे किसी एक दिन आपका ब्रीडिंग का होगा, और माइक्रोबायो का भी सैटरडे या संडे को ही होगा, ठीक है। तो आपको बेसिकली 4 से 5 क्लास, मतलब पैथो और माइक्रोबायो का हम देखते हैं कि अल्टरनेटिवली एक वीक में दोनों रखेंगे या फिर कन्वीनियंस के हिसाब से रखेंगे, ठीक है। और तो मैक्सिमम टू मैक्सिमम आपका 5 क्लास हो सकता है किसी किसी वीक में, या फिर आपको जैसे पहले बताया गया था कि 4 क्लास होगा, तो 4 क्लास तो होगा ही होगा, ठीक है। बाकी अगर किसी दिन किसी फैकल्टी का मतलब कुछ अर्जेंट काम आ जाता है, तो आपका वो क्लास पोस्टपोन होके नेक्स्ट वीक के अंदर वो शेड्यूल पूरा हो ही जाएगा, ठीक है। ये बात है आपका। तो नेक्स्ट क्लास आपका मंडे को होगा, मल्लिकार्जुन सर लेंगे जेनेटिक्स में। आज तो संडे है, कल मंडे, कल सर लेंगे आपका नेक्स्ट क्लास। फिर वेंसडे को है, और नेक्स्ट क्लास में लूंगी संडे को, नेक्स्ट संडे को। तो उस दिन हम लोग डिस्कस करेंगे रिगार्डिंग योर टॉपिक जर्मप्लाज्म कंजर्वेशन, और मैं उस दिन इंट्रोडक्शन का भी स्टार्ट करूंगी, ठीक है। और ठीक है, तो इतना था। बाकी और किसी को कुछ पूछना है? और आप लोग पढ़ाई कर रहे हो ना सही से? किसी को कोई दिक्कत है पढ़ाई में, मतलब कुछ दिक्कत आ रही है कहीं पे?
नहीं मैम।
ओके, ठीक है फिर। और ग्लोसरी आप पढ़ रहे हो? आज मैं ग्लोसरी डिस्कस करने का सोच रही थी, पर टाइम हुआ नहीं, ठीक है, क्योंकि आपको बैक टू बैक 2 क्लासेस थे ना, तो थोड़ा अर्ली स्टार्ट करती तो होता, पर क्योंकि आपका बस 6:20 को ही खत्म हुआ, इस वजह से नहीं हो पाया ग्लोसरी का डिस्कशन। नेक्स्ट क्लास हम करेंगे, ठीक है। तो अभी मैं सेशन एंड करूंगी। वंदना, आप होस्ट हो अभी, मतलब मेरा कट गया ना सडनली, तो आप होस्ट हो, तो आप एक काम करो मेरे लिए, आप मीटिंग को एंड कर दो। आपके पास एंड का बटन दिख रहा होगा। वंदना, कैन यू हेल्प मी?
दिख रहा है।
हाँ, तो अब एक काम करो, एंड बटन क्लिक कर दो, तो मीटिंग एंड हो जाएगा, ठीक है।
ओके मैम।
ओके, बाय एवरीवन।